Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin Style podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co host, Steven Maslij.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
And we are back in another week of the off season here with this Eagles team. Not much has changed since the last episode, unfortunately. It's a very quiet time in the off season, gearing up for preseason and training camp. So today, Maslij and I were thinking of getting started off with talking about the competition around the league, what kind of teams the Eagles are going to be facing this year, what kind of competitiveness we're going to see around the league. So today, me and Maslij both made a list of our top 10 teams, and we're going to discuss them here. Make sure you're interacting with the Instagram post. We'd love to hear your opinions, your reactions, let us know what you guys think here. Honestly, we're pretty much going to jump right into it. But before we get into it, I guess I want to hear your start before we get in. We're not going to talk about their schedule today. We're going to break down their schedule next episode. But Maslij, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the standings of the NFC East for this upcoming season.
So, NFC is going to be weird this year. I think it's going to be, once again, one of the best divisions of football. When you look at the Washington Commanders, they're a type of team that they have talent. Like, if they get Chase Young back, that's just automatically one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Just getting added into a decent defense already. They have Terry McLaurin, Dotson, Gibson, and they have someone else. Who's the other running back? I'm missing someone they drafted, but they have talent around them. But I don't know. The only question is at quarterback. Is Sam Howell going to start for them? You're not going to be able to trust him. He's a second-year guy. Yeah, he had one good game at the end of the season last year for no reason. I have no choice but to put them last just because as much as I don't like Dak, and Danny Dimes, they're not. He's not a top even mid quarterback.
We haven't had a chance to see him do much yet this year. I mean, not this year, just in general. We haven't seen him play much. He did good with what he had, but in general, I don't see him being much more or less than not Sam Hinkie. What's his name? Trevor Heineke.
Trevor Heineke.
Yeah, sorry. The Philly in me is talking about Sam Hinkie. We were just having a conversation about the Sixers.
Heineke, Hinkie, they're all the same.
So, yeah, I see him being about the same as Heineke. So, I don't see them taking a big step down in that regard.
And then after that, it gets a little dicey for me here because I think that the Giants are a decent team. If you look at their D-line, it's pretty solid. You got Leonard Williams, you have Dexter Lawrence, you have Kayvon Thibodeau. They're going to get back Xavier McKinney. They're going to get back Dory Jackson on the side. They didn't have any cornerbacks at the end of the season. They add Waller to that offense of miscellaneous receivers. If you want Sterling Shepard, Slayton. They drafted. Did they draft Zay Flower? No, they didn't. Who did they draft?
I'm actually not too sure. I can look into that.
But I mean, even just as a team as a whole, they're very comparable to the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys are just better with the Marcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons. Their D line's amazing. But who the hell did the freaking? And then I think that the Eagles are going to be the best team in this division. Obviously, personally, and we're going to get into all that, but I just don't see comparably on both sides of the ball how the Eagles are just not far and away the best team in this division. I think we're the best team in the league. I think that we have the best roster in the league, and just even adding Swift, Penny, I think Dean's gonna be great. I think our team's just amazing. So I think we're the best. I think it's gonna be us, and then I think the Cowboys and Giants, they're gonna have a similar record. I think they're gonna be both a 9-10 win team, and then I think the Commanders are gonna have 6 to 8 wins. I think it's a decent division. I think it's going to be very competitive, but And then I think the Eagles are going to have 12 wins. So it's going to be a hard schedule for all of us. We're all playing the AFC East. And AFC East is cracked. Like, if you say the Patriots are the worst team in that division, then I have, like, you could say the Jets, Miami, Bills, and Dolphins. Like, it's that division's cracked. We're all playing them just to start off with not even, like, saying we're playing two times in our division. So, I mean, it's going to be a hard year. I don't expect any team to have above, like, 12 wins other than us, but I think if we get to 12 wins, it wins our division this year.
All right, well, that's all fair. I agree with you for the most part. I defer from you just a tiny bit. I agree that I think that the Commanders are pretty much going to be in the same purgatory they were in last year. Not terrible. They're not going to be one of the worst teams in the league, but they're not going to be doing much. They're going to be at the bottom of the division, most likely, unless Howell just turns out to be some stunner for some reason. At 3, I'm going to be going with the Giants here. A lot of people talked about last year how everybody over here had the easiest schedule, and how none of us would have been good without the easy schedule, yada yada. Before I say this, I just want to put out there, I do think the Giants are a very good team. I do think that they have a good squad, especially on defense. They've got weapons on offense, especially after going out and getting Waller. But I think if there's any team that's going to be affected from going from the easiest schedule to the hardest schedule in the league, it's going to be the Giants. I could be very wrong. He obviously already got his deal. But personally, I just feel like I need to see one more year out of Danny Dimes before I say he's a good quarterback. I saw a lot more bad Danny Dimes than I've seen good Danny Dimes. So I just think that when he's facing these tougher teams, we're not going to see the same guy we saw last year. That's just my personal opinion. I could be very wrong. They are a dangerous team. They have the weapons, like I said. They have a good defense. However, I just think they're going to be finishing more like an 8 to 9 win team next year. I do think that the Cowboys are more comparable to us than they are to the Giants, in my opinion. I think the Cowboys are a little bit better than you're giving them credit for. They have a very similar roster to us. I think we have them just barely beat in just about every position, but like they're relatively, it's like here and here with it. Like it's really, they've got a good D line. They've got good linebackers. They've got good secondary. They've got a quarterback. They've got running backs. They've got receivers. They've got the whole thing. They've obviously got the O-line. They've had it for a long time. They are getting a little old in the tooth over there in the O-line department, but regardless, I think that they're just like the Walmart version of us right now. So like, I'm going to go Eagles at 1. And obviously, as I mentioned that, I clearly have the Eagles fairly above them, but like I said, here and here, that's just my bias kicking in. They're pretty similar teams. So I'm going to go with the Eagles, like you said, probably getting around 12 wins this year. I have not gone through the schedule and done that, definitively. I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to be around a 10-win team. The Giants are going to be around 8, and the Commanders are going to be around 6, 7. So once again, like you said, I think it is going to be a competitive division. It's going to be tough. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eagles take a loss to any of the teams in the division this year, including the Commanders. So it's going to be a competitive year.
I just think like Dak in general is just he had his worst year by far. Like he was just not good last year. He had 15 interceptions, 23 touchdowns, 2,800 yards. It's not that, obviously he missed games, but I just don't. He hasn't shown me. Obviously he lost Amari and obviously lost Smith in line, and he had his injuries he had to deal with. I just think that Dak is so overrated. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback.
I'd put him like a little bit below. I feel like the usual comparison line for everybody is Kirk Cousins, just because Kirk Cousins is such a basic quarterback. Like he's like the line. I put him like a little bit, maybe below Kirk Cousins, like maybe a spot below Kirk Cousins in the quarterback rankings.
Then who's better than you, Danny Dimes or Dak Prescott?
That's a tough one. Like I said, I based off of last season, I want to say Danny Dimes if he does what he did again, but I got to see him do it again. So for right now, I'm going to say Dak's over Danny Dimes in my book.
Okay.
But if Danny Dimes can reproduce it again, then I'm going to go Danny Dimes because I think that Dak has been regressing a little bit.
I mean, Dak has had seasons
he's had some very good seasons. Like he can be at times he was very underrated to a point where he got very overrated.
It was just last season was just a dip for him, and obviously, like I said, he was dealing with his own injuries. He was dealing with injuries in the line and like everything. But
there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I do think that he's going to have a bounce back year. I feel like I'm not going to see him throw as many picks, but I could be wrong. I did see a little Instagram video of him throwing a ball. It looked horrible. I don't know if he's just like losing a little something there or what, but I'm sure he's going to be fine.
And then people are going to bring up the thing of, whatever amount of picks weren't his fault. Yeah, I did watch even like the Jaguars game. Like, yeah, it bounced right off his hands, like, and went right to the DB. But like, it's when you start nitpicking stuff like that, it's like then you could just say that for everyone and say, oh, Jalen only had 4 picks last year because the other 4 weren't his fault.
Exactly.
Or whatever he had. But like,
you gotta talk about you have to like the circumstances are the circumstances. I hate the arguments of if this person had this, if this person didn't have that. The circumstances are the circumstances. They are playing with those circumstances. So leave it out of the question. They are performing how they are performing. That's the end of the question, Like
people bring up this argument of like, oh, well, like mostly just Giants fans like, oh, well, Danny Dimes on the Eagles, he would have rushed more and the Jalen and all of this. And if Jalen was on the Giants, he would have sucked. And it's like, well, then, like, what are you saying right now? Because this A didn't happen, and B, you're literally saying that your team sucks in general. So it's not their fault. They're on a good team. Like, it's a good team built around
these circumstances that change the game. Like obviously the Eagles got blessed with quite a few things last year. They had an easy schedule, yes. The biggest thing that we don't talk about is they made it through the season very, very healthy. Almost nobody got hurt. These are great things to happen. And yes, everything went our way last year. For some teams, that wasn't the case. But regardless, like I said in our previous video, I think the Eagles might be a little bit better than last year. But that doesn't mean they're going to have a better schedule or have a better season because circumstances will change. Every fan has witnessed a season where they've seen their season go to crap because a few star players got hurt or the team was just riddled with injuries. It happens to everybody. I don't know why everybody likes to act like the Eagles were like the first team to I don't know, like they were the first team to not deal with these things. But
I mean, not to defend Niners fans, but like just like in general, like the Niners QB situation, like you have Jimmy G going down, then you have Trey Lance going down, then you have obviously we heard Brock Purdy and whatever. I'm not against the argument of that game or anything, but just like in general, like if we had that happen, like that would really suck. If we had Jalen go down, that we had Marcus Mariota go down, we wouldn't like that. But like we were fortunate enough to be able to get guys in position where they're not getting hurt as much, and it takes a little bit of luck too, like not turning on a leg a certain way. It's just, but at the end of the day, I think the Eagles are by far the best team in this division, and I personally don't think it's argumentable that
I don't think it's arguable either, but I do think it's a little closer than you give it credit for.
Maybe I'm too biased, and that's very fair. But
division games will always be division games, and regardless of the way you look at it last year, we did split with the Cowboys. So there's nothing saying that we were definitively better than them. I mean, obviously we made it to the Super Bowl, but still, I think we're a very similar team, and no matter who we're playing in this division this year, we're gonna have a tough game.
All right, so then looking around the league, wrap off from 10-1. Like we'll go do your 10-5, and then we'll do 10-1.
Yeah.
Who do you got echelon teams in the league?
All right. So to correct Maslij, we're going to go 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1. But
10 through 6, 5 through 1, whatever.
All right, so I'm just gonna rattle off mine relatively quick. I'll give a little bit of reasoning behind it. At number 10, first of all, I'm gonna say my honorable mentions because I all think they stand in a very similar group here. I don't think either any of these four teams that I'm about to mention are any better or worse than the others, but I think they're right on the cusp. And these four teams are the Minnesota Vikings, the New York Giants, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the LA Chargers. All right, so keep that in mind. I think they're all about relatively the same tier of a team, but not quite in the top 10. So, starting with my top 10, at number 10, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I think they stepped up a lot last year. Obviously, Geno Smith had a great year. I think they have a very underrated offense over there in, the wide receiving core. They've got guys over at running back. They've got a great defense. I think they're a very underrated young squad, and they're like I mentioned, they're young. They're gonna be here for quite a few years to come. So at number 9, I've got the Dolphins. Obviously, they were a high-powered offense last year. They didn't really change a whole lot, but they did add, obviously one of the best corners in the league in Jalen Ramsey. So that's going to give a huge boost to their defensive side of the ball. With their already high-powered offense, they're going to be a great team this year. Number 8, I've got the Cowboys. Like I mentioned in the rankings of the NFC East, I think the Cowboys are a very similar team to the Eagles, just a step or two behind. I think they've got a great offense, a great defense. They're just a well-rounded team, but they're a little more likely to make mistakes than some of the others. Number 7, I've got the Jets. This is a little bit of a wild card, obviously, because obviously none of us know how Aaron Rodgers is going to play with them this year. But with the addition of a quarterback over there, I did think going into last season they had a great team. They will also, like I said, great running back in Breece Hall, great wide receivers in Garrett Wilson over there. I'm forgetting some of their others, but they've got a decent receiving core over there. They added Alan Lazard and gave Rodgers some of his, teammates and friends over there to keep chemistry together. And the defensive side of the ball over there has been good for quite a few years now. So I think that they're going to be a solid team this year if Aaron Rodgers plays up to Aaron Rodgers standards. And at number 6, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that the Ravens last season was obviously with the whole Lamar Jackson saga, a bit of a chaotic, throwaway season. Before all that stuff with Lamar happened, he was having a great year. The team was having a great year. They were in playoff contention, pretty high up there in that regard, actually. And then after the injury, he could have made it back, but they didn't want to pay him, and it was this whole back and forth thing. So going into this year, not only did they add Odell Beckham, but they added Zay Flowers over there. They've got a great defense, 2 studs at linebacker and Queen and Roquan Smith. They've got Kyle Hamilton over there, Marlon Humphreys. They're a high-powered team, and with Lamar Jackson back at the helm, as it should be. I hated that it took so long, and I'm tired of Lamar Jackson slander. This team is going to be a great team this year. So that is my 10 through 6 so far. And there you have it. That is my top 6 teams. So running through it one more time, it was the Seahawks at 10, Dolphins at 9, Cowboys at 8, Jets at 7, and Ravens at 6. So I want to hear your arguments, your changes here, Maz.
So for Seattle, I just don't know if Geno Smith's going to be able to replicate the year he had last year. He played, and then we kept saying it all year, and he kept playing just as well. I know they signed the other running back from UCLA, and they're like a decent team. I think even like the Chargers are better than them. I just don't think that their defense is like good enough to like carry them to any standard above like I think the Chargers have a great roster. I don't even have them in my top 10, annoyingly enough. And then like I think they're similar to like the Vikings. Like they have talent at receiver, they have a decent quarterback. Like obviously the Vikings got rid of Dalvin Cook. I don't know where he's going, but I just don't see them being. That's the only thing that I have like completely different. My other teams are kind of switched around, but yeah,
I don't know, man. The Chargers to me are one of the most overrated teams in the league because I have yet to see them, not struggle against every single team in the league. And they have a great roster. You're right, 100%. But they for some reason have not been able to put it together, and they have not given me any reason to give them any flowers for it. At least the Seahawks gave me a reason to give them flowers for it. And on top of that, I think Gino's old enough into his career, seasoned enough of a vet to not take a step back yet. At least not until he just starts getting old, I feel like. But I could be wrong there. It's another guy that, like I said, I was talking about Danny Dimes earlier. It's another guy that we've seen do it once. So that was a bold pick for me. I agree, but I think that their young core is deadly.
that's fair. All right. Well, I'm pretty much very similar to you. Um, other than the fact, so I got the coming at 10. I have the Cowboys and Giants. Like I said earlier, I mentioned my points earlier about how I think they're similar teams. They're gonna be in the same division playing, and this is also like when I'm putting the Jags at 8, and I'm putting them above the Jets only for the pure reason that they're gonna have like they're playing the easiest division in football. They're playing against the Texans, Colts, and help me out here.
Texans, Colts, and Tennessee.
Tennessee, and I think Tennessee and Texans are bottom feeders of the league right now. I think Tennessee might be one of the worst teams in the league, um, and then like Texans are just up and coming, just too young. But I just think based off last year, they had success last year. They added Calvin Ridley. They're gonna have like I love Josh Allen on defense. Trayvon Walker's dope. I think Travis takes a step up, and I think that Trevor's just only been improving. He improved last year, and they're just a very young team that has a lot of potential, like a lot of high upside guys because they've been having such high draft picks.
If
And
for me, if any team is taking that number 10, jumping in that number 10 spot from the purgatory honorable mention, I said it would be the Jags.
yeah,
I personally don't feel like I've seen enough from them yet. I think that they got a little overrated at the end of the season last year, but you are completely correct. And they're young, they're growing, they're only going to keep getting better, and they play in a crappy division. So I very easily may change my stance on that halfway through the season this year.
yeah. I mean, it's just and then like obviously if they beat up on like Tennessee and like we're not going to give them we're going to get the same crap that they did last year, but they deserve if they win both games they have the same record as us for some reason. If they have like 12, 13, like 11 to 13 wins, I think that's what we're going. I think that like obviously we're a better team, but their validity is just they're just going to have a good record. Um, so I put them at 8 and 9. I had the Jets. I think the Jets are a great team. I think people forget about like, oh, they just had Brees Hall before he got hurt, and like, I mean, we've seen the Rodgers number 17 connection before, and Garrett Wilson was phenomenal last year, and I think he's only going to take a step up in his game with Rodgers.
Agreed.
I think Sauce is not the best corner in the league, but everyone else does. But I mean,
How did I forget to mention Sauce?
even if
I
he
do
wanted,
think I do think Sauce is debatably the best corner in the league.
he might be. He's like he's definitely like a top. He's top 10 for me. I just
If you don't have him in your top 5, you're crazy. Because I don't know if you really watched his technique last year, but this dude was just like his technique. That's the thing. His technique is just so freaking stellar. Like he is just always in the right place at the right time. He's always making plays. Whether it doesn't need to be interceptions or anything like that, and it doesn't need to be pass breakups either. Just he wasn't getting the ball thrown at him all that often because he was always strapping.
yeah. I mean, I just think Jair Alexander's above him. I think personally, Slayer above him. Actually, I don't think Bradbury's above him. I think Slay is. Um, I think. I mean, I freaking Denzel. I mean, what's his freaking name? Who else did I put above him? Um, I think. I mean, I think Sertain. I think Sertain has been better just in a situation he's in.
Surtain is probably the number one corner in the league,
and he's super young too. And I also think old ass Jalen Ramsey is like still good, but it's all like perspective. Obviously, I'm not saying Sauce is a bad corner. I just think
I would put I won't argue with you any further, but I would put Jalen Ramsey under Sauce Gardner at this point in time.
it's fair enough. And then talk about Jalen. I have at 7. I have the Dolphins. I think that their division is gonna be really competitive and really tough, and I think it might be the best division in football, as a whole. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, but I think just there. I don't. The only thing I question, which I'm a fan of, too, is Tua.
This guy loves Tua. Let me tell you.
I do love Tua, but at the same time, like his injuries, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He has all the head injuries. I mean, his confidence is based on him seeing tape of himself doing good plays from who's their coach? I'm blanking on his name.
Nick Saban?
No,
you mean Mike McDaniels?
Yeah, Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels going through and like video, like having the head camera on. He has all this fun stuff. He's a great guy. I think the roster's dope, but I don't know how they're going to fare in this division. That being said, I have a team that's in the same division at 6, and this is the Bills. I think the Bills are arguably like they can be. You can argue they're a top 5 team. You can argue they're a top 3 team.
You can definitely argue it.
You can. I just I think their division hurts them just as much as like in playing us. Like it's just not, I just don't think that. I think they're going to struggle a little bit more. I mean, they're sick. Like if you wanted to do roster wise, yeah. But at the end of the season, I saw their offense struggle. I don't know who's like is Singletary their running back. Like for the future, is James Cook their running back? Their running game hasn't impressed me in the slightest at all. Yeah, you have Josh Allen.
They don't value the running game the same way we don't value linebackers. Like they've almost never had a good running back over there.
But I think that's. I mean, yeah, Josh Allen gonna be your leading rusher. Like, sure, good for you guys. Like, I just don't. Maybe I'm just a Bills hater. I don't know why. I used to love the Bills. I don't know what got into my head that I hate them. I just don't like.
Well, I laid out my Josh Allen slander last weekend or last episode, and I went a little overboard on him because Josh Allen is a great ball player. He's fantastic. He's exciting. He makes good throws. I was just trying to give a little extra push to say that Jalen was better, but and I still stand by that point in my book. But it's not like it's not a close battle or anything. And realistically, in the stat book, if you just look at the stat book, Josh Allen wins. If you watch them play, I think it's a different story personally. Yeah. But that's an eye test one. Even in the rushing department, Josh Allen had him beat in every stat. But I watch both of them play. I think Jalen's better, but that's probably my bias kicking in. But anyway, so that's your top 6. Name them off one more time.
So at 10, I have the Cowboys, Giants interchangeable, Jets at 9, Jags at 8, Dolphins at 7, Bills at 6, and that's what we got to so far.
All right, cool. Well, in that case, I suppose I'll jump into my 5 through 1 here. So, starting at number 5, we're gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, we all know a lot about the Bengals. They've got a great receiving core over there with a great leader at quarterback in Joe Burrow. Obviously, Jamar Chase, Higgins, and Boyd is a deadly combo. They got Hayden Hurst over there. They've been bolstering the O-line. They've been in contention for a few years now since they made the Super Bowl, and they are just slowly bolstering little spots here and there. So they're only getting better. And I think they're going to be a hell of a team this year. They're a ridiculously hard offense to stop. Joe Burrow is a stud. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the league. and it's just they're a tough team to beat. At number 4, I'm gonna go with the oh my gosh, I just blanked. The Buffalo Bills, as we were just talking about. Um, in separation to Maslij's argument here, I personally think that when you talk about how hard their division is, it was generally the same division last year. I know that the Jets are going to make a big difference in having Aaron Rodgers, but I still think this Bills team is borderline dominant for the most part. Um, Josh Allen is too exciting of a player, and he's too willing to put his body on the line to get his team a win. The dude has a clutch gene in him, regardless of the few times like the Mahomes game and stuff like that. But that was still a clutch gene showing from him. He scored with 13 seconds left in the clock. Um, Josh Allen's a winner. I just think that dude's a winner. I do, and I think he's just got to fix up the interceptions a little bit, be a little smarter on his feet, and not let himself take so many hits. And these are all things that Jalen has problems with too, but I think to a lesser extent because I think he's a little smarter. But regardless, I think the Bills have a great offense, great defense. Obviously, it's the same argument for every team. But the him and Diggs connection, the only thing that could put them lower on my list this year would be the him and Diggs connection and the fact that they're going through some relationship problems in a similar manner to like T.O. McNabb. I don't really know why that's happening, but they're going through it over there for some reason. Um, Otherwise, I think this team's a dominant offense. They've got a good defense. Von Miller is going to be back for them. I think this team's a good team. At number 3, I'm going to go with the Eagles' best friends over here, the San Francisco 49ers. Regardless of how much crap they've talked this offseason and how annoying they've become in all Eagles fan books, they are a great team. They are so well rounded on both sides of the ball. They have the best defense in the league, no doubt. Um, they are a hard team to stop unless you hurt their quarterbacks. So, yeah, they're a tough team. They've got good quarterbacks. They're going to obviously have a battle deciding who's going to take over that team going into this season, whether it's going to be Purdy or if it's going to be Lance. They've got McCaffrey over there. They've got Kittle. They've got Debo and Ayuk. They've got a great O-line. Their D-line is phenomenal. Fred Warner at linebacker. They had, I forget the all-pro safety's name from last season, but he had one hell of a season. They're a really, really good team. And as much as I hate them at this point, I cannot discredit them for their success. But to discredit them, at number 2, we have the Eagles. So obviously, I think the Eagles are a fantastic team. I think they may even be better than last year, and I thought they were a top team last year. I don't see any reason for them to take a step back. Obviously, they have a little bit harder of a schedule, so maybe they'll have an extra loss or two in the schedule. But this team is really damn well rounded, dude. I'm still in love with this roster. Our D line is stacked, just like it was last year. We have some questions at linebackers and safety. We obviously have players for those spots, but it is question marks regardless. We got our big time corners back. We have the best corner duo in the league. Got the best O line in the league. Got an MVP caliber quarterback. We upgraded at running back, which I think is going to take a big step in our offensive game and production level with the RPOs and the read options. And yeah, obviously, don't even have to talk much about our receiving core. They're really freaking good. So yeah, that's about it for that's all I gotta say about them. They're just a great team. And obviously at number 1, I gotta go with the defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Their receiving core is really good, so.
It sucks because I do think that our roster is better than the Chiefs. I absolutely do. But they don't lose, man. They just don't lose. They win consistently. They have been since Mahomes has been in the league. He's the best player in the league. And with him on your team, just like when Tom Brady was in the league, they will always just sit at the top until they're dethroned. So, they're the team to beat.
Yeah. Just looking at the the Bills roster, I completely discredited their D line. I forgot about they just signed Leonard Floyd, and Matt Lano was great last year. Jordan Poyer was the Julian Porter and Michael Hyde were the two safeties. One of them we were talking about that you couldn't get their name of. They're definitely. I'm gonna put them in the top five. I don't think my argument is stupid. I don't know why I have this hate. Maybe because the last time we got in the argument on Instagram of the guy that Josh. I think that's the only reason
Shout out to you, brother.
I think that's any animosity toward them. My question is, like, I understand the Chiefs being at one based off of Mahomes, but outside of that, the receiving core, other than Travis Kelce, who stands out to you on defense other than Chris Jones? Like,
that's my point. Nobody really, honestly.
Like that's the reason I can't.
They win games all the freaking time. Doesn't matter who's on their roster. They still win games. And I can't discredit them for that. They win over 10 games every year. They are they're in the AFC Championship every year. Yeah. They just win. And it doesn't really matter who they have a great coach and a great quarterback. And apparently that's all you really need. When you look back at history, it was the same with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So, it's like
great. That is just crediting those Patriot defenses.
They had really quite a few good teams, yes, but they also had a few not crazy teams that I watched. I'm 100% certain of that. My point is, but there you can't discredit the actual Chiefs team either. The guys that we're just not giving a whole lot of credit to. They also just win. So, doesn't matter if it's obviously not just Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce. They got to do it with everybody. They've got a good O-line. They've got a pretty good D-line. They don't have memorable names over there, but they have guys that do their job and do it well.
All right. Well, I'll hop right in. I'm very similar to you. I'm actually gonna flip so this is another one that's like a kind of similar argument to the Chiefs for me. Just looking at the roster I think the Bengals are cracked, like offensively. They just signed Orlando Brown at the left tackle. That's going to help Joe Burrow out. I mean, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase. It's they're everything on offense is great. The same reason
Joe Mixon for the Bengals, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that's just another reason they're great.
So the only reason I just don't like them is because like Trey Henderson is their best defensive player. Like I understand they're like fine. They did defense. I mean, did decently last year. I just don't. No one on their defense stands out to me being like look at this guy. Like, what?
Do they not have Bates anymore?
I think he left. He left, right? I think that.
I'm not sure. That's what I'm asking. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not. Their defense doesn't pop, but at the same time, they do win too. Like, they just keep winning, and keep winning, and maybe you just need a great QB and a great coach or a decent coach. Don't need a great coach anymore.
It makes a big difference.
And then I'm gonna put the Niners at 2 over the Chiefs, but the only problem they have on their roster is Brock Purdy. That's the only reason they're I might put even the Chiefs over them. I'm even looking at my own list going, yeah, they got McCaffrey, they got Debo, they got Ayuk, they got Kittle, and they got Trent Williams, maybe the best left tackle in the league. Their other guys are fine on their line. Then they got Hargrave, Armstead, Bosa, Greenwall, who's freaking amazing. Fred Warner, who's freaking amazing at linebacker, probably the best linebacker duo in the league. They got Ward on the outside. It's just these names are just
they absolutely have the best roster in the league. That's actually really not a question.
I mean, outside of us,
they do have a better roster than us. However, I don't necessarily think they put it together better. And at the end of the day, like we just mentioned, quarterback is really the position that wins you games.
I think we have a better roster than them by far.
By far is being incredibly bold. However, I'll let you take your I know how you are, but
We could go up and down the roster if you want. But anyway,
Yeah,
either
maybe
way,
not now. Maybe
this
a
is
different
going too long.
episode.
This is going way too long. I know we've been doing this too long. I have the Eagles at 1. I think the Eagles have the best roster, and we could compare up and down. But the only reason I'm just looking at straight roster right now is because of just it's the offseason, and this is a different year. Obviously, injuries happen. And the one team that is in my top 5, because I didn't put in order, I know we're going super long, that I want to mention is the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to be better than the Bengals this year. I know
I
that's
think there's a
bold.
good chance of that as well. I could see the Ravens being a 12-win team.
I know that, but people laugh at me, man. When I'm surprised you're not laughing at me saying that. I got laughed at by some of my friends in group chats for thinking the Ravens were gonna win that division.
People are really sleep on the fact that Lamar Jackson is happy again. First of all, second of all, he has receivers to throw to for the first time in his league. Do you remember what happened last year when everybody was saying that Jalen Hurts had nobody to throw to? In his first season, he had no one to throw to, yada, yada. Then they gave him the guys. They gave him A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they said, all right, go out and prove it now. And guess what he did? He went out and proved it. Lamar Jackson has been thrown to a bunch of nobodies. And I'm not going to say nobodies because he had Marquise Brown, but Marquise Brown probably dropped 50% of the balls that Lamar Jackson threw in his direction. So, this is the first time we're going to see Lamar with borderline studly weapons.
I mean, yeah,
I think we're going to take a step. And on top of that, J.K. Dobbins is back in the mix, which people are also highly forgetting about.
They forgot all these guys got hurt last year. They forgot Humphries got hurt. They forgot their other safety got hurt. They had Roquan Smith. Kyle Hamilton was playing hurt. He was trash last year, but he was a rookie, and he's supposed to be sick. When you add Odell, yeah, washed up Odell, whatever. Aguilar's fine. You had Zay Flowers.
Odell is probably still a top, 20 wide receiver in the league, most likely. We'll have to see how he plays when he gets back. Yeah.
One healthy, yes. He just had the health issues.
Yeah.
You add those guys, and then you get Bateman back, who's been hurt all year. He's a first-round receiver. Then you have Zay Flowers, another first-round receiver. They're just like, oh, wait a second. Lamar was hurt last year. It's just people yeah, the Ravens weren't good last year. Yeah, they weren't. They were riddled of injuries, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
it happens.
Guess what? It happens. The Ravens were good before Lamar Jackson got hurt.
And then you just add Roquan Smith, which is another one of my favorite linebackers, top 5 linebacker, in my opinion. I think he's sick. And then I think the Ravens are a good team. I think Lamar's going to show, other than Patty and Jalen, I think he's my third to win MVP. I think he might even be my favorite MVP bet. Just in general.
I absolutely think it's fair. I do.
But at the end of the day, Eagles are number 1 in my opinion, and that's all that matters to these rankings.
Got a true Philadelphia fan over here. I love it. Obviously, both of us, based on our standings here, you guys understand that we have very high hopes for the Eagles this year. They should really have a great year again. They're a great team. Even at their worst year, I can't see them winning less than 9 games. So, this team's a good team. And like I said earlier, I'd love to hear any comments, questions, anything that you have for our opinions here. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. So make sure you're commenting on the video, on the Instagram, the Twitter. We'd love to hear from you guys. But once again, thank you for tuning in. This has been a fun one. In this off season, we're going to be trying to give you, some different kinds of subjects here and there. But thanks again for tuning in. This has been Flyin in Style, and we will see you later. Go Birds.